I'm back. Welcome to another episode of I Did It Twice. Out of the darkness and into the light. You know what I'm going to say next? I just love the way that sounds. We did an episode earlier where we were talking about love, showing love and giving love. And so today we're going to talk about something on the mental health side of things, and that's depression. And what is depression? What causes depression? How do you even know if you're depressed? A lot of us, like me, myself, I was suffering from depression and anxiety and PTSD, and I didn't know. I thought I was normal. Well, I was normal because these are normal behaviors. These are normal mental behaviors and normal mental conditions that I personally believe. I haven't did the research, so don't quote me on the percentiles, but I believe that there's at least 95% of the population, if not 98% of the population, truly suffers from some type of mental illness. And I said it before, I'll say it again, that back in the day when we had family members who were suffering from mental illnesses, depression, anxiety, or PTSD, we kind of overlooked them and we put them in the closet. We kept them, well, we didn't put them in the closet. I hope you didn't put them in the closet. You better not put them in the closet. But we kept them in a separate environment, a room, so when the company would come over and we wouldn't be embarrassed by it. We were never addressing the actual mental illness of the person. And I'm just saying from my culture, we never considered the sickness or the illness of mental illness. We just said, man, Uncle Charlie crazy. Man, Uncle Charlie weird. Man, don't talk to Uncle Charlie, man. He be talking to, he see people. I think that's because we really didn't want to deal with it, but Uncle Charlie had some mental issues, and Auntie May May had issues, or whoever, the kids. I remember when my kids was growing up, and all the children was diagnosed with ADHD and HIJK elemental P, and they gave them medicine. They gave them medicine to calm them down. Calm down. We didn't get no medicine. We were. I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about, not me per se, but I remember a lot of times being around my cousins and what have you, and we be playing, and kids, we enjoying ourselves, having a good time, and we get too out of control, and our parents and our aunties and uncles, you better get your butt over there and sit down somewhere and act like you got some sense. How do you act like you got sense? Act like you got some sense. No acting lessons whatsoever. You had to act like you got some sense. Acting like you got some sense means to sit somewhere and just be still for a minute. And then, kids, they can't be still for long. They yeah. And so when my kids was little, they came up with diagnoses, ADHD, deficit, ADD, attention deficit disorder. We didn't have that when I was growing up. You didn't pay attention to see what happened. You'd wake up the next day. What happened? Where did everybody go? Why am I in the bed? Boy, Man, my parents, they didn't play that. Yeah, you had ADD, all right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, okay. We got a cure for ADD. Their cure was to give you a spanking. No, they worded it differently, a whooping. If you don't sit down, I'm gonna whoop you. Whoop, daddy. No, not that one. Not that whoop. I never forget. I was doing something, and after being mischievous, I can't remember what it was, but my great aunt used to keep us. She used to watch us while my dad was at work, and I did something. I don't even recall, but I do recall the outcome of me doing something, and that was she told me. She said, "You go out there and get me a switch. Go and get the tool or the instrument that they were going to use to punish you." I went outside and got this little old flaky branch off the tree. I came in, here you go, crying. She said, "Boy, you know you screwed up." When they go, "Boy," and then they tilt that head, "Boy, that ain't no switch. I'm gonna go get a switch and show you." "No, that's okay. I'll go get one." "No, no, no. I'm gonna get a switch." And she went out and took half a tree. I thought Bigfoot or somebody came in and give me a whooping. She took a half a tree and started raking the branches off the tree. I said, "What?" I couldn't cuss it. Couldn't use swear words, but I was using them. What the hell did I do? Shit, she got a whole tree branch. And her thing was, she's, "I'm gonna cut them legs," so she never spanked us on the behind, or on the butt, on the buttocks, or as we say in the ghetto, on the ass. She tore them legs up, and she'd hit you across the legs, and you, ah! Whatever you did, you had one mantra: "I ain't gonna do it no more. I ain't gonna do it." You didn't know. You forgot what the heck you did. All you knew was to say you weren't gonna do that no more. You were right. You didn't do that no more. I wasn't really a terrible kid. I can only recall maybe 4 or 5 spanking whoopings. Whoop! There it is. No, that ain't it. I can only recall maybe 6 that I did something that I got in that much type of trouble that I had to be disciplined that way. But that was the deterrent to keep me from behaving that way or doing it. Was this is the end result of doing that? Don't you? No, 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 senor. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit today about depression. We're going to talk a little bit today about depression. And like I said, I was diagnosed with depression. I didn't know I was depressed. The only time I ever got depressed was when I worked my butt off and then saw my check. I went, "What? You took all them taxes out working this hard? How do you want to cash my check?" But I had to. Oh, Lord. I'm going to have to take off my glasses. You know, you got to have your sunglasses on so you can be cool. But I'm going to have to take my sunglasses off so I can read. It's one thing about being cool. It's another thing not being able to read. Oh, shoot, drop up. You knocked my sunglasses on, man. Ooh, woo. Well, that's one way to get hurt in the hood. Mess with somebody's sunglasses. Knock them on ground and let them get scratched up and see what happens. You're going to end up scratched up. All right, okay, here we go. All right, so we asked the serious question. What is depression? What is depression? Just mull on that for a second or two. What is depression? The word itself says that there's pressure built up, and then you depress it, means to alleviate the pressure, but that's not what mental depression is. Mental depression should be titled or labeled pression. You got all this build up of thoughts and things going across your mind where you just mull over to the point where it just tears your demeanor down. It just kind of you demoralize yourself. You don't even need no one to demoralize you. You demoralize yourself. You start having self-pity, pity parties, and just thinking all kind of negative things about yourself that ain't true. And sometimes if you don't just follow that general guideline of just thinking of something negative about yourself that ain't true, but a sense of sadness may come over you, and for no reason at all, just sad for no reason at all. And then a lot of times I believe that when we reflect on certain things, it causes us to fall into a state of depression. But we're going to go and see what the psychiatrists say about depression. Not me, because I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm gonna tell you like Gemini, the AI tells me, she's not a medical doctor and she's not giving me medical advice. It's best that I seek professional help from a doctor. Good disclosure, Gemini. Okay, what is depression? Depression is a common but serious mood disorder that affects how a person thinks, how a person feels, and how a person handles daily activities. It goes beyond temporary feelings of sadness or loss of interest and can significantly interfere with one's life. So I was saying earlier about the feelings of sadness and loss of interest. I didn't mention loss of interest, but that's another one too. So if you had something that you were really interested in, and then all of a sudden you just start losing interest in that, and then you had another activity or something you had interest in, and you lost interest in that activity or that thing, then it's quite possible that you're not just bored, but a lot of times we'll just feel like, oh man, this is boring, I'm bored. And then, if it's continual, I believe that if it's a continual boredom or it's a continual loss of interest, it's quite possible I'm suffering from depression. It's quite possible you're suffering from depression. I'm going to use me as the example, so you don't want to be offended by saying, why do you keep saying you? Why do you keep saying you? Meaning me. Why do you keep talking about me? I'm not talking about you per se. I'm talking about me trying to help you. That's what I'm doing. And I'm going to have another sip of coffee. What do you think of that? All right, let's move on. Okay, depression is not just feeling sad, and it's not something that can be easily snapped out of. That's pretty interesting, because it's just not a feeling of being sad, and it's something that cannot easily be snapped out of. I believe that with them making this particular statement saying, so it's going to take some intervention. It's going to take someone else who can see that you're suffering from the symptoms of depression. And maybe they can give you some encouragement or some particular words of encouragement, and to kind of help you realize that you're falling into this state of depression. Okay, another thing, depression can occur at any age, but it often begins in adulthood. I can agree with that statement because I'm not going to say that, kids don't get depressed. Uh, when you don't allow a kid to say they want to go to the carnival or the fair, and you go, we can't go right now, or we're going to go at another date, later date, and then they feel sad, and then they kind of maul in this state of depression. And I believe that it can happen at any age, and I can't tell you I can tell you what particular age I was diagnosed with depression, but I can't tell you what age I was initially suffering from depression or anxiety or PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Probably the time when my great aunt went out and got that tree like Bigfoot and took all the branches. Okay, depression. It is a medical condition that requires understanding, treatment, and support. Key words, those three key words. It's a medical condition, one, and it requires understanding, it requires treatment, and then after the treatment, that's our folks, and after the treatment, there needs to be some type of support modules in place, whether that be family members or that be continual counseling or what have you. But and it could be medical. Like me, I take pills for my depression. I take pills for my anxiety, and I even take pills for my PTSD. And I'm not saying the solution is in the pills, and I'm not saying prayer won't work, and I'm not saying none of those things. We're just talking and we're having a general conversation about what is depression. Okay, so put your stones down. Put them down. Put that stone down. Did you know regular physical activity like walking or yoga has been shown to have antidepressant effects, often matching the benefits of medication for mild to moderate depression? And notice that I said walking or yoga. I didn't say walking or yogurt. Put that yogurt down. Yogurt ain't go. Well, some people eat because they're depressed, so I take that back. Okay, pick up that yogurt. Key symptoms of depression. Let's talk about some of the key symptoms of depression. And notice once again, the key word is key. Without a key, you can't crank any engine. Without the key, you can't enter into any door that has been locked. So apparently, this is something that's locked into our psyche, so we have the key to unlock. One of the key symptoms of depression is emotional symptoms. Prolonged sadness or feeling of worthlessness or guilt, irritability, and anxiety. They seem to go hand in hand, anxiety and depression. But the prolonged sadness, and there's a difference between like mourning could take, I'm still mourning the loss of my sister, my son who was murdered, still mourning my brother, and this has been over 20, 30 years ago in some cases that I'm saying I'm still mourning. But that's not the sadness that it's referring to. It's just referring to the overall feeling of being sad, and there's really nothing to be sad for. Everyone else is watching a comedy and they're laughing and having fun, and you're over there in the corner going, what are they laughing for? What is so funny about that? And then that could be because you're depressed. You're depressed. And you're depressed because you're suffering from depression. That's a pretty good impersonation of depressed and depression, huh? I know I love. All right, so some of the key symptoms of depression. Here's some of the physical symptoms. Okay, some of the physical symptoms is changes in appetite, or weight, or sleep, or disturbances, fatigue, and lack of energy. So if you're suffering from some of these physical symptoms, it's quite possible you're suffering from depression. And so the best way to avoid a trap is to be made aware of a trap. So that's one of the traps of physical depression, is a change in appetite. Nothing wrong with going on a diet. Nothing going on with it. Now play that backwards and you'll hear what I just mistakenly said. All right, mistakenly said? I'm inventing words as I go. I'm a walking dictionary. Physical symptoms, changing in appetites, weight, sleep, disturbances, fatigue, and a lack of energy. So sometimes if you have a lack of energy, you could be suffering from depression. So a 5-hour energy is not going to do it. Some of the strongest energy drink I've ever had was Red Bull. It's not going to happen. I used to work in a warehouse overnight and did a lot of overnight work in warehouses. That's something, huh? Well, that's the only job they will let you have if you had that experience. You know for sure you'd get a job working in a warehouse if you had warehouse experience, but that's irrelevant to the topic. So I was talking about the Red Bull, man. That thing. We're working in a freezer with the cold suit on and everything, and we're pulling orders for restaurants. And you had like this standing, it wasn't a forklift, it was a standing kind of like a little scooter with 4 or 5 different flat carts attached to it. So it was like a little train, and you would get the manifest for the orders that you're going to pull and go into the freezer and pull the various the merchandise off the food items off the shelf to complete the order to load into the truck. And so I think that shift started maybe 9 o'clock at night and ended like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And so sometimes the supervisor would come out and he would say, all right, if anybody want to work overtime, he goes, we got overtime tonight, but this is like 3-4 hours into the shift. So then what he would do, he would go into the freezer. No, not the freezer. He would go into there was a section for dry goods. So he would go and get a case of Red Bull and give everybody like 2 Red Bulls a piece so they could drink it and have the energy or what have you. And I'm thinking, the first time I've ever tried that Red Bull, and I'm thinking, oh yeah. I raised my hand. I drink that Red Bull. I was gritting my teeth and I started to get fatigued. I didn't have no energy, and I'm thinking, this stuff don't work. I'm riding driving the cart and trying to look at the manifest and pull orders and falling asleep. It didn't work for me. It just amped me up and had me so amped and just, I'm telling you, I was literally gritting my teeth going, I had to sneak the Red Bull story in because we were talking about being fatigued or tired, and a lot of times when we're fatigued and tired, they got a commercial for that, something for you to ingest into your system. But this fatigueness and the tiredness from depression is totally different from that particular type of fatigue, I believe. Okay, so let's go to another key symptom of depression, and that's the behavioral system, the behavioral symptoms, not the system, the symptoms. See, the system is out to get me. I'm fatigued, tired, I've got anxiety and depression. This is the system. Behavioral symptoms: withdrawal from social activities, neglecting responsibilities, and a loss of interest in hobbies or activities that were once enjoyable. Now, I love to paint, I love to draw, I love to do what I'm doing now, I love to create music. So, me personally, that's my cure for my anxiety. That's my cure for my depression. That's my cure for my PTSD. I feel myself lulling into that type of mindset or behavior. I'll go pull up my. I got a virtual studio. I'll pull up my laptop and create some beats or put on YouTube and sing to some songs, and or maybe get on my drums and just play rhythms to song I know from the past and songs in the future. That's the activities that I do. But it says that some of the symptoms of depression is you withdraw from like school activities. So if your children is once interested in an activity, and you know they like that activity, they may, do this activity even when they're not in school, but then all of a sudden they're losing interest. That could be one of the symptoms from depression, or it could be a symptom of the bully. A bully make you lose interest real quick if you don't stand up to him. I don't think I want to play basketball. But the behavioral symptoms are withdrawal from social activities, neglecting responsibilities, and a loss of interest in hobbies and activities that were once enjoyable. See, these activities that they named was once enjoyable, and now you don't really seem to enjoy them. You're losing interest in them, and so it's quite possible that you're suffering from depression. And all you have to do is address that depression. And once you address that particular level of depression that you're suffering from, and you'll start to be more interested in those activities you used to do. And we all have some type of skill or craft or some type of activity that we like to do, and it's very enjoyable for us. And so this is the reason why we kind of gravitate toward those activities. But if you find that in some cases that the things that you used to enjoy the most, and you really don't feel like doing them or participating in those activities and shying away from social environments or what have you, it's quite possible you could be suffering from depression. And so, like I said before, the best way to avoid a trap is to be made aware of a trap. I always give the example, so you're hunting for a bear and they put a bear trap down. They don't put the bear trap down where the bear can see it and avoid the trap, because that's the best way to avoid that trap, is to see that trap and avoid the trap. Most times when they put a bear trap down, they'll cover it with leaves or some brush or something, and boom, bear steps on it, then he's trapped. Cruelty to the bear, man. That's cruelty. But anyway, that's the best way to avoid a trap, is to be made aware of a trap. Excuse me. Had some frogs for breakfast. Still got frog in my throat. Wait a minute, people do eat frogs. Can you joke like that? Okay, major depressive disorder, MDD. We're going to talk about MDD. No, not medical doctor and not a dentist. MDD, major depressive disorders, or the acronym DSM-5-TR symptoms checklist. Wow. You go to your psychiatrist, I'm suffering from DSM-5-TR. And the psychiatrist go, oh, you got a major depressive disorder. Okay. This is going to be the DSM-5-TR symptoms checklist, okay? I'm going to read them off and give you a second to kind of think about it, all right? Well, let's give you 3 seconds. How about 3 seconds? 3 seconds. A one, a two, a three. A three. My favorite commercial. Do you feel depressed most of the day, nearly every day? And action. Every day? That got me. Do you feel depressed most of the day? Nearly every day? Most of the day, nearly every day? Maybe you have a major depressive disorder. Let's go down the checklist again. Have you lost interest or pleasure in most activities? That was 4 seconds, but it's cool. Have you experienced significant weight loss or gain recently? Uh-oh. The gain. I was going to wear my other vest, and it fit me so tight I thought somebody was bear hugging. I said, "Oh, stop bear hugging me." No, that comes from all the key lime pies and cookies and ice cream that I eat. Because I'm depressed. Okay, this ain't funny. This is some serious stuff. Stop joking, man. This is serious. Okay. Are you having trouble sleeping? Insomnia? Or sleeping too much? Hypersomnia? I'll have to answer yes to that because I have sleeping pills and I have trouble sleeping. The only reason I don't like taking the sleeping pills is because after I take the sleeping pills and I go to sleep, I have some of the craziest dreams I've ever dreamed. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on with these dreams? And I was talking to the doctor who prescribed the sleeping pills to me once, and he said, and I was in the mental hospital, and he said, well, one of the things that's happening is you're no longer ingesting in alcohol like you used to. You're not drinking alcohol, because I was drinking straight brandy, no chasers, no ice, just brandy. And he says, well, one of the things is your brain is starting to come back, and he says that's a sure sign that you're recovering because you're having these lucid dreams. I'm like, no, doctor, you sound so professional, but I didn't have these type of dreams until I started taking the sleeping pills. But he said that would happen. So I try to stay up as long as I can so I can go to sleep. But I still wake up early in the morning. I guess that's a sign I'm getting old. I don't know. So do you feel physically agitated or slowed down? Sometimes you can feel physically agitated, not necessarily just be physically agitated, but you can feel physically agitated or slowed down. So these are some of the major depressive disorders, the DSM-5-TR symptoms. Do you often feel fatigued or lack energy? We said that earlier. And the other one is, do you have feelings of worthlessness or excessive guilt? You know, that's a sign of depression. And then the other one is, are you having trouble concentrating or making decisions? If you're having trouble concentrating or making decisions, then that's not a attention deficit disorder. That's a sign of depression. And then the other one is, do you have recurrent thoughts of death or suicide? Never had recurring thoughts of death, nor have I ever had recurring thoughts of suicide, but there are some people that are out there. And when I think of death as passing on to another plane of existence, so that's not what they're talking about. But if you having these thoughts of death or suicide, it's quite possible that you're suffering from depression, and it's a major depressive disorder, the MDD. Okay, and then the last but not least is, have the symptoms cause significant distress or impair your daily functioning? So if these symptoms is preventing you from doing your normal daily routines or what have you, you too fatigued and you're just losing interest and so forth, then it's quite possible that you're suffering from the major depressive disorder, also known to the psychiatrists as the DSM-5-TR symptoms. That sounded so professional. That's a print. Cut. We're going to go cover 4 more categories, and I believe that should be enough for today, because there's a whole lot. And it's good to know. See, if you don't know, now you know. Information, knowledge is power. Known ledger. This is known ledger. Anything known to man, he'll write it down. Knowledge, known ledger. Okay, black and white mindset. So, we're going to identify, we're still in the major depressive disorder topic. So let's go with the black and white mindset. This distraction involves viewing situations in extreme terms with no middle ground or no shades of gray. Things are perceived as all good or all bad, perfect or complete failure. That's the black and white mindset. You know, I came across a lot of people, and I used to have that black and white mindset when it came to raising my children or being a disciplinarian to my children. I had that black and white mindset. There was no middle ground. There was just no middle ground. It was like, nope, didn't I tell you that? Didn't I? And you know, I'm using that example as saying the black and white mindset, but we're talking about this pertaining to the depressive disorder, okay? And so you got to try to see the gray areas and consider that reality often lies between extremes. See, the reality that we live in, sometimes it do lie, not lie like not tell the truth, but it's there in between the extremes. So you gotta consider that middle ground. You have to consider that gray area. It just can't be black and white, or black or white. Okay? Michael says it doesn't matter if you're black or white. So try to see the gray areas and consider that reality often lies between extremes. So the best thing you could do is challenge yourself to find evidence that contradicts the extreme view and explore alternative explanations. That's well said. That's well said. And it's no different than a behavior in watching television or something like that. So you're looking at a show and you say, I've seen that before. And so you start changing the channel to see, can you find something else more entertaining or more catchy for you, or not catchy, I didn't mean to say the word catchy, but more to your liking, rather, or fitting to the mood that you're in. And so you flip the channel or surf the internet or what have you. Same kind of connotation, right? So let's go to overgeneralizations. Overgeneralizations occur when you make broad, sweeping conclusions based on limited evidence, wow, or single occurrences. You take one instance and apply it to all situations. And we all know people like that will take one situation and just apply it to all situations. Just because it happened then and it happened from that person don't mean the next person's going to do that. And just because you experience that in this situation or scenario doesn't necessarily mean you're going to experience it in another scenario. Unless you're walking around, taking a screwdriver, sticking it in the outlet, and getting electrocuted. Now you're going to experience that every single time. That was one extreme example too, right? So here's an example of someone doing an overgeneralization. Okay, watch this. I made a mistake in my presentation. I'll never succeed in my career. See, you just overdid it, because we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and especially after we make a mistake and we're really jammed up about the mistake, the first thing we're going to say is, hey, I'm entitled to make a mistake. Nobody's perfect. You've heard that before too. Okay, look for exceptions to the generalization. Challenge yourself to find evidence that support a more balanced view. We need to have a balanced view, a ball with a lance through it. And if you were standing on that lance where the ball is in the middle, you try to keep your balance. We have to find a balance. Focus on specific details. Avoid making sweeping judgments based off of limited information. Wow. Yeah. That reminds me of some people I know. Yeah, that's it. No information. Or limited information. Is it? No. It's better than that, my friend. Uh-oh. Mind reading. Oh boy. We got a lot of people for this. Mind reading involves assuming you know what others are thinking without any evidence to support your beliefs. You interpret their behavior as confirmation of your assumptions. How many mind readers do we know out there? Did I put my shades back on? My mind readers? Here's an example. She didn't say hello to me. She must think I'm not good enough. Wow. Now that sounds like women. That sounds like, wait, who she thinks she is? Yeah, you did that. That's what it sounds like to me when they do that. They go, I did you do that. Challenge yourself to seek clarifications rather than making assumptions. Practice effective communication and ask for feedback to confirm or refute your assumptions. Recognize that you can't control others' thoughts and focus on your own behavior instead. Focus on your own behavior instead. We don't need no mind readers. We don't need it. If you can read minds, that's all well and fine. But we're talking about eliminating the trap of falling into the behavior and the mindset of depression. Right? Right. Give yourself a big hand. There you go. Okay, yeah. Alright. Catastrophizing. Wow. I almost spit my tongue out saying that. Catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is the tendency to automatically anticipate the worst possible outcome or exaggerate the potential consequences of a situation. I'm going to read that again. Catastrophizing is the tendency to automatically anticipate the worst possible outcome or exaggerate the potential consequences of a situation. You expect the worst case scenario to happen and often exaggerate the consequences. Let's give an example of this one. I'm going to have to straighten up the flower right now. Alright, y'all got your seatbelts on? Here we go. If I fail this exam, my entire future is ruined, and I'll never succeed in life. Wow. Not only is that catastrophizing, that's a display of low self-esteem. Man, you got to esteem yourself higher than that. It's called self-esteem. It's how you esteem yourself, how you lift yourself up, how you look up to yourself. Self-esteem. Evaluate the evidence for and against catastrophic thinking. Consider alternative, more realistic outcomes and focus on problem solving rather than dwelling on worst case scenarios. And in most cases, that's what we do. We dwell on the worst case scenarios, and that's not good. Okay, I'm going to do 4 more, and we're going to conclude because I'm sitting outside and the sun is starting to come out and penetrate on the laptop, and I don't want to ruin my laptop. Okay, here we go. Emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning occur when you assume that your feelings reflect reality. You believe something must be true because you feel strongly about it. Yeah, been there, done that. I got the t-shirt, I got the shorts, I got the socks, and I got the hat, and I got the ticket, the receipt. Emotional reasoning occurs when you assume that your feelings reflect reality. You believe something must be true because you feel strongly about it. That's not intuition. That's emotional reasoning. You're reasoning based off of emotions only. Here's an example. I feel like a failure, so I must be worthless. That's kind of the mindset that we give little kids when they're trying to learn to do something or trying to follow some of our instructions, and then they make a mistake or fail at it, and we go, "You made a mistake. You can never do nothing right." See, we put that in there. We do that as parents. We do that as people talking to each other. One of the ones is, "Man, can't you do anything right?" Yeah, screw up. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go with should statements. Ooh, this is a good one. Now this is a good one. I remember when we were doing this in the group meeting, and we went with the should statements. I was the one appointed or picked to read it, and I read it and I agreed with it. Let's listen. The should statements. Should statements involve using should, must, or ought to. Statements that create unrealistic expectations and pressure. You impose rigid rules on yourself or others. Here's an example of a should statement. Watch this. I should always be productive. Taking a break is lazy. I used to think that. Because when I was in the workforce looking for work, and sometimes, you couldn't just apply for a job and get the job right away. So I used to use employment agencies or temporary agencies. And so one of the things that I used to think that I should always be working, I should always be productive, and I shouldn't be taking a break when it's not time to take a break. But then I would show them that I'm being lazy and I really don't want to do the job, so I'm just going to work and work and work and work. And then when they call break, I'm still working 2-3 minutes after they call and break, because I want to show that I'm enthusiastic and really want to do the job, that type of mindset. So you got to challenge the validity of these should statements and recognize that they are often unrealistic and unhelpful. Practice self-compassion and set more flexible and achievable goals. Focus on progress rather than perfection. And I'm a perfectionist. I can't help it. And everything, it has to be perfect on me. See, everything is all perfectly aligned, hair, perfect. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. And not only does it necessarily don't work like that, but you're being too hard on yourself. I was being too hard on myself. I was overanalyzing. I was catastrophizing, and I was emotional reasoning. So let's go to one more. Discounting the positive. I know a lot of people who I've come in contact with, and they just, no matter what positive outlook you try to have them to view a situation or life, they always discount the positive aspect of it and want to dwell on the negative. Let's see if this is talking about the same thing. Okay, this distortion involves minimizing or ignoring positive experiences or qualities. You dismiss or devalue positive aspects of yourself, others, or situations. Yeah, that's right. That's why I told you earlier, it's called self-esteem. It's your esteem, not Don's esteem, not peanut butter and jelly's esteem, your esteem, self-esteem. Recognize that emotions are not always reliable indicators of reality. Consider consider alternative perspectives and evaluate the evidence for and against your emotional reactions. Practice mindfulness and observe your thoughts and feelings without necessarily accepting them as facts. And so that means analyze the situation, look it over. I go to the grocery store a lot of times with a grocery list, and I go straight down the list. But sometimes I just have to look over other items that are not necessarily on my list. And I have a habit of, if I pick up something that's not necessarily on the list, I'll write it on the back of my list, my grocery list, and say, well, you know what, I didn't even consider I would see that, or that would be on sale, or what have you, whatever the case may be. And so we must recognize that emotions are not always reliable indicators of reality. Consider alternative perspectives and evaluate the evidence for and against your emotional reactions. Practice mindfulness and observe your thoughts and feelings without necessarily accepting them as facts. I stuttered for a minute because one of my little favorite lizards comes and sit on that rain gutter, and he shot by here, and I thought he was coming to sit on the rain gutter, so I got distracted for a minute. Okay, let's do the last one, and that's, did I do discounting the positive? Yeah, I think I did, and here's an example. I received compliments on my presentation, but they were just being polite. No, if someone sees you and wants to acknowledge your accomplishments or give you a compliment, receive it, accept it. That's what they see of you. You may not see it. I always like to say, you can see your face in the mirror, but you can't see your face without it. So it's what they see. They may see the positive side of you. You like that one, huh? You can see your face in the mirror, but without the mirror, you can't see your face. Practice gratitude and intentionally focus on acknowledging and savoring positive experiences. Challenge yourself to recognize your strengths and accomplishments. Keep a journal of positive events or qualities to counteract the tendency to discount them. And I would recommend that too. If you realizing that you're that type of person, and so keep a journal on the positive things, and you'll realize that you have more positive attributes than you have negative. And so you're not really giving yourself credit for the positive attributes you have. You're not giving yourself credit. That's right. You're not giving yourself credit for the positive person that you are, the positive experiences that you're having. So, hey, keep a journal. And I'm not saying document it every minute, every hour of the day, but keep a journal and just realize something positive. Like I told you before, showing someone love, that's being positive. And speaking to someone, that's being positive. You don't have to speak to them and invite them to your home for dinner or something like that, but just waving, saying hi, or good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, and what have you. I grew up in our household where when we got up in the morning, we had to say not only good morning to our parents, but good morning to each other. Hey, good morning, and so forth and so on. And before you go to bed, okay, get ready to go to bed. Good night. Those are positive. Those are positive attributes. Those are positive behaviors. So if that's what you're going to put down and log it. Okay, here's the last one. Labeling and mislabeling. Man, coming from a truck driver's point of view, boy, and working in the warehouses, ain't nothing more important than having the right label on the right product. And the right address on the right box or envelope. Because mislabeling it could send it to someone it really don't belong to. And when I used to run a mail room, I had to make sure that I was looking at the right person for the mail to go to the right address to sort it in the right slot. You learn something new every day. Isn't that something? Labeling and mislabeling. Labeling and mislabeling involves attaching negative labels to yourself or others based on behavior. Instead of recognizing behavior as an isolated event, you apply negative labels to the person's character. We are all guilty of that, and no one can say otherwise. We're all guilty of that. We're all guilty of that. No one's exempt. Because even though if you try to say, I'm not guilty of that, you do a review of your past behaviors and your past experiences and see if you have not mislabeled or labeled someone outside of who they are and who their content of character is and so on and so forth. Okay, here's an example of labeling and mislabeling. She concealed our plans. She's so selfish and inconsiderate. Maybe she concealed your plans for a reason. Maybe she concealed your plans because she understood that you didn't want your plans to be discovered or known by other than who you wanted them to be discovered or known by. So by telling that person, they kept it secret or sacred, and they concealed it. So having every confident that or belief system in them that this is something that you really didn't want it to be exposed unless you exposed it. See how simple that was? A mislabel. So practice empathy and recognize that behaviors do not define a person's entire identity. Challenge the accuracy of labels and consider alternative explanations for the behavior. Focus on understanding the context behind the behavior rather than making snap judgments. And that's one of the things we do. We drink Snapple and then it's in our system and now we make snap judgments. We eat snap beans and we make snap judgments. Don't be so quick to label people. Don't be so quick to mislabel people. Give people a fighting chance. You deserve a fighting chance. They deserve a fighting chance. Okay? So now we just went over some very interesting things regarding depression. What is depression and the MDDs of depression. And so I hope we learned something today. And you know, this has been another episode of Belle Enterprises Studio Music Production. And we were outside today for this take, enjoying this beautiful setting, enjoying nature, the natural. She's so beautiful. She wins the beauty contest. Here she is, nature. Never said I could sing. But anyway, put my sunglasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Oh, there you are. This has been another episode of Out of the Darkness and Into the Light. And I just love the way that sounds. I love the way that sounds. Out of the darkness